Great, we're live. Fantastic. So lovely to see you all. I can see the numbers rushing up again as usual. Welcome to our Friday celebrity webinar that I'm sure you've all been looking forward to. One of the probably most exciting moments of the whole NCO Online 2021, because we're joined today by the team from Aardman, Julian Nott, who's the composer, Wallace and Gromit, and Jim Parkyn, who is the model maker, or one of the senior model makers who actually makes Wallace and Gromit and all the characters. And he's going to be making something for us today, I think. And of course, the amazing Jonathan James, who most of you will know, who's been working on your own soundtracks with you. Now, I think the numbers are still climbing, but I think we might as well get started. I'm going to ask these guys to introduce themselves by starting a little bit of a screen share here. Here we go. So this is Wallace and Gromit, the webinar. So who wants to kick off? Oh, it's Jim. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, Jim?
Fantastic, thank you. Well, there is a much younger me, alongside Sean, Sheep and Timmy. And that's what I spend a lot of my time playing with. I spend a lot of time on Mossy Bottom Farm working with Sean and Timmy and making the characters. So essentially I'm a professional plasticine player. That's my job, really. A professional puppet maker, and I've been with Aardman Animations in Bristol for the last 22 years or so, and worked on a range of different films. And also, some of you might know me from Community Playtime as well, a little Instagram and YouTube channel that I have. And it all started with the COVID thing of making viruses and rainbows, and from there we've done Wednesday afternoon meetings where we do live model making sessions, and people pick things out of hats and I make them with them. And when I'm not doing that, I'm out on the road, or used to be out on the road, making fluffles, going to schools and universities, people's places of work, and showing them the art of playing with clay. So yes, and now I'm doing that online and chatting to people like yourself as well, which is really rather a pleasant way to spend my time.
Fantastic, thank you. Thanks, Jim. And on to Julian, who's the amazing composer of the music of Wallace and Gromit. Tell us a little bit about you, Julian.
Well, yes, I've written the music, the film scores for all the Wallace and Gromit films. And that goes back a long time to when I was a student with Nick Park, who created Wallace and Gromit at the National Film and Television School. And that's actually what that photograph is. It's at the National Film and Television School, where we went back a couple of years ago for a reunion. Yes, I've done all the Wallace and Gromit films, and I've known Nick Park for years, and we were friends at college, basically, and that's how I got the gig.
Are you collecting some kind of award here or something?
Yes, that is the Ivors. The Matter of Loaf and Death got me composing Ivor. The Ivors are composition awards, so I was lucky to get that.
Congratulations. And another film that was award-winning?
Yes, I think that's the very first Wallace and Gromit, A Grand Day Out. That was Nick Park's graduation film at National Film and Television School. And rather rarely for a student graduation film, it won the Oscar, I think, the Oscars in the States.
Amazing, fantastic.
I hope that's right. It was certainly nominated.
I can see, Jim, that you're starting to model something, Jim, are you? What are you up to?
Yes, I set myself the challenge of making a Gromit in under an hour. They say it can't be done, they say it shouldn't be done, but I'm going to give it a go, and hopefully I'll have something to show you at the very end. So if I look slightly distracted, that's what I'm doing, but I can talk and model at the same time. It's happening live.
And you're just starting with strips of plain plasticine, is that right?
Yeah, I've got 3 strips of stone colour or Chaz colour if you're a more fan, and I've already made a body. So I've got a little egg for a body, and I'm making the head next. So I'm making a kit of parts, and I'll assemble it as we go along. Brilliant.
We'll watch you as we go. Fantastic. And who's this, Julian?
That is my pet dog, who is a little puppy, little Chihuahua, called Fina. And well, what happened was I was never really on for getting a dog, I have to say. So I went on a foreign trip lasting about 6 weeks, and my 2 daughters and my other half secretly acquired this wonderful little monster while I was away, and there she was waiting for me when I turned up at home. But she was so lovable that I couldn't really complain.
Amazing. Great. And let's move on to Jonathan. You will know Jonathan because obviously he's been working on Madcap Ragtime, actually, where this was the thing that the children chose to work on, wasn't it, Jonathan? Tell us a little bit about what we've been doing.
We've been putting together our very own film score to go with just one segment, just 2 minutes worth of this excerpt from A Matter of Loaf and Death. And we've been trying to find leitmotifs and different mood music to go with each different segment of the scene. It's been quite a challenge.
But you do lots of other things in your life, Jonathan.
There are a lot of J's in the room.
Yes, too many J's, sorry.
It's quite all right. I often get called James, actually. So we're doing well. This is me trying to enthuse a bunch of adults to create something out of nothing. So I do quite a lot of creative workshops, from primary school children through to conservatoires and then through to adults. And I just love creating something out of nothing and giving people confidence around improvisation. I do quite a lot of presenting as well. I wonder if some of you might recognise Milosh, the guitarist there, looking very smart. And that's me interviewing him before one of his concerts. And I also record quite a lot of podcasts and things like that, explaining music. And also I have to do videos explaining music. I often am the person before a concert. If you go to a classical concert, typically an orchestral concert, that explains what's about to happen in the programme. And I sort of make little videos about that as well.
Great, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for introducing yourselves. So Julian, how do you come up with a tune like that amazing iconic theme tune of Wallace and Gromit?
The answer to that is I absolutely don't know. It just happens. I mean, normally you've got a deadline. I sit at the keyboard or the computer and I say, oh God, I've got 4 hours to come up with a tune. And then at 3 hours and 58 minutes, I get it. It just comes. And that's all I can say to that question. I just don't know.
And do you get to interact with the model makers, or what's the process of making the music to the film?
All films are different. With the Wallace and Gromit films, the shorts like Grand Day Out or Long Trousers or Matter of Loaf and Death, basically the film was more or less finished by the time I come along. And they've put what they call temp music on it. They've put other music on it just to make it work better. And it's there. And then it's my job to replace it with the original music. And it's a terrible rush normally. You get, because you need the picture more or less finished, you know, the edit more or less finished. And you get maybe 3 or 4 weeks to write quite a lot of orchestral music, which they've got to like. And, you know, they often don't like your first goes at it. So you have to rewrite it. And that's it.
Amazing. Wow. Now we've got a poll to find out a secret about Julian. Which other animated character or characters has Julian created music for? Okay, now everyone's rushing to vote, and there are quite a lot of votes already in for Peppa Pig, a few for the Octonauts, a few for Bob the Builder, a few for Hey Dougie, and a few for Charlie and Lola. So it's all climbing, and I'll stop it in just a second. Everybody's still voting. It's a lot of fun to try and work this out. Okay, I'm going to share thanks so much for voting, everybody. I'm going to share the results now, and we will see if they were right. Are they right, Julian? Was it Peppa Pig? It
was Peppa Pig, yes. I'm doing the music for Peppa Pig. It still continues.
Oh, wow. So how did you come up with that? Dare I say it, slightly irritating little theme?
Irritating little theme? I've heard it's been voted somewhere. I read it the most annoying theme in the world, and it's so annoying to parents because apparently what happens, all their kids work out how to use DVD machines. Just so you know, at 5 in the morning they sneak down and put on the da 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 da, da. And it's the bane of existence for parents. Anyway, how did that come up? Same answer, I'm afraid. At 3 minutes 58 seconds, 3 hours 58 minutes, it just popped out.
Amazing.
So that's all I can say.
Fantastic.
It's almost probably like having a baby. you don't actually do very much. It just happens.
Well, I'm not sure very many women would agree with that.
I know that's probably true. Yeah, you don't actually make the baby, do you? You might suffer.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. That's true.
Didn't Lenny Bernstein say something about? So Lenny Bernstein was a composer as well as a conductor, and he said all you need to actually achieve something is, I'm sure there's something about having too little time, and just having too little time is a big part of actually delivering and coming up with something. I love the thought of you just setting yourself 4 hours and think, right, by the end of this 4 hours, it's almost like a sort of alarm clock.
Well, you might as well set yourself 2 minutes or 10 minutes, because the rest of the time is wasted. I've never dared do that. Yeah.
Well, there's a challenge. So, Jim, tell us a little bit about being a professional model maker. How is Grommet getting on, by the way? Where are you at with him?
We're going all right so far. I've got a head, a body, a neck, 4 legs and 4 paws, and I'm on toes at the moment. So I've got 12 little peas to make. And essentially, it all started with this when I was about 4 years old, and I've never really progressed from there. So I've ruined a series of carpets, and yeah, I recommend hardwood flooring or stone flooring really for everybody's house if you're going to play with plasticine. And yeah, I studied. I literally have a Mickey Mouse degree, so I studied animation and watched cartoons, and literally, I was saying about feeling old when talking to people, but I was in my early teens when Grand Day Out came out. And it was one of the influences. Morph was a big influence. Morph and I are the same age. He's aged a lot better than I have to say, but that's the kind of thing. Aardman product was what I grew up with, and Wallace and Gromit booked you to walk onto stage to do talks with Julian's music ringing in my ears. So it's just been really a real thrill to come on to Wallace and Gromit theme tune. It's just amazing.
So we've got a poll to find out some secrets about Jim. So Jim has made models of Shaun the Sheep with members of the royal family, David Attenborough and his grandchildren, the NCO South Westerlies Orchestra, or Steve Backshall and his children. Okay, I wonder what people are voting, and it's all rushing in. Can you see it climbing up, or is it just me?
Can't see it.
You can't. Okay, I can see it all. So we've got over 100 votes in so far. I'm going to end it there.
I think.
I'm going to end it there and see what they said. Okay, so 38% think you've made Shaun the Sheep with members of the royal family. Close second, David Attenborough. What is the answer?
Well, I would have loved to have done the David Attenborough, but I am not quite by royal appointment. But I did teach William and Harry and Kate how to make Shaun the Sheeps, and also how to wang wellies, to hit a scarecrow and knock a pumpkin head off a scarecrow as well at BAFTA, which is
wow. Is that a useful skill?
The highlights of my career, I think.
Amazing, fantastic. And Jonathan,
one had never wanged a welly before, or well,
I've never wanged a welly. I don't know if any of you others.
My mind's boggling. Is that chucking a welly as hard as you can at something, right? I mean, that's it. That's what
that is. About.
Yes,
that's it. The good old country thanks thing of chucking wellies at objects. Yeah,
fantastic. I think we should be doing more wanging of wellies in our lives. Great.
It's the thing that it doesn't go where you think it's going to go. It's like a boomerang type thing, or what?
It's quite certainly when I do it, it's rather like that. So I have to say they were much better. Their athletical skills were much greater than mine. So yeah.
Fantastic. So Jonathan, tell us a little bit about creating a soundtrack, and how have you approached it with our kids, and how have we done it?
Well, we looked at some of the main features of this really short little 2-minute sequence, and we saw there was the beginning of the love between Wallace and Paella. So we thought, great, we've got to have a love motif right in there. obviously the longest sequence is the downhill bike chase, so that we had to have thrilling music for there, and it's quite heroic what they're doing. And so we thought perhaps we could have a hero motif, because there are a few times where, right at the beginning when they're sort of delivering their bread, it's quite heroic as well. It's also, I think we went for madcap ragtime for that, just to give it a bit of spice. And what the bit that we actually absolutely love after you've sort of fallen into the crocodile pit is Grommet comes out and he sort of checks the brakes on the bike, and then finds out they're actually working, and sort of just looks to cameras and say, what now? What's going on here? So how do you do a musical question? That was another.
That was the highlight. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so Jonathan, the secret about Jonathan is that he speaks 8 languages. Which of these languages does he not speak? Okay, so everyone thinks at the moment that you speak Welsh, Spanish, and French, but people aren't so convinced about Arabic at the moment, or Bulgarian. And I think there's even English in there. Yeah, only 4% think you speak English, Jonathan. So right. I think that's what they think you don't speak. Sorry, my mistake. Okay, so I'm going to wrap that up and let's find out what the result is. The result is that they're not sure that you speak Arabic, but a close second is Bulgarian. Do you want to tell us what the answer is?
Well, actually, بحكي Arabic, so I do speak Arabic, but not Bulgarian. So that would be a great one to learn, Bulgarian. I have some Bulgarian friends and they're very hearty and brilliant people. So maybe you've given me inspiration. Thank you for that.
How do you remember so many languages?
Well, I don't really. You go in phases. You sort of go around refreshing your mind of the vocabulary, and I try to keep my mind afresh quite strategically throughout a month by having different language podcasts and different TV shows that I watch in different languages and things like that, and sort of pen friends, try and keep them juggled.
Brilliant. Great. So let's take some questions from the kids. If anyone wants to ask any questions of our guests, you just go to the Q&A. And we've got one from Jason for you, Jim. How long did it take you to train to do what you do?
Well, I think it's cumulative, really, like all of these things. So started in school and had a real passion for art. And then really it was 3 years of studying motion. So we studied 2D and digital animation and all the basics of animation, about weights, about timing, all follow the same rules, whether it's in 2D cell animation or what have you. So it spent 3 years learning that, but then it's really getting your hands on the puppets and actually learning the craft. So I'm still learning. So 20 odd years on, and I had the great fortune to work a little bit with Richard Williams, who animated and directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Pink Panther, and he was, even to his last day, was still animating and still learning and finding his craft. So you never really stop. And I'm sure Julian and Jonathan both have the same experience as well. There's always a shorthand, but there's always something new that comes up, and there's always something new, like Bulgarian to learn.
Exactly. So Matilda wants to ask you, Jim, how long does it take to make a grommet or a model?
Well, they can be very quick. I mean, the quickest puppet we really make is a morph, or the little bunnies from Curse of the Were-Rabbit. We'd be expected to work at a rate of around 8 BPD, which is 8 bunnies per day, or 8 MPD, 8 morphs per day. So about 1 an hour, but they're quite a basic puppet. Grommet would take about 3 days. So I'm up against it today.
Wow, amazing. Wow. And for you, Julian, Hanneke wants to ask, does your dog suffer from small dog syndrome and bark a lot like mine?
Well, it's definitely a syndrome. I mean, she's fierce. I mean, she's only 6 months old or something, but if she sees a big dog, the bigger the better, she'll go up and yap at it and attack it with, so aggressively and with such energy that the big dog will definitely withdraw. So it sounds to me like that is the syndrome. I'm a bit new to these dogs, but yes, I think the answer is yes.
Brilliant. And for you, Jim, Talitha wants to ask, who's your favourite character to make in the model?
Well, I spend a lot of time doing these workshops, and we do Sean, and we do lots of other characters. But Grommet is really quite nice. Again, it's that character alongside Morph that I really grew up with. So it's still quite quite a lovely thing to, and still make look like the thing on screen as well. So so actually, coincidentally, Grommet, yeah.
Fantastic. And Julian, do you tell us, are there any other sorts of music that you like to write, not that isn't Wallace and Gromit music or Peppa Pig music?
No, I stick to film music. And television music. I'm not very sympathetic to. I'm not a good example here to very contemporary, modernistic music, and I've never really wanted to write it because I don't really enjoy listening to it. So I prefer something with a tune, probably something, you know, a bit more tonal, a bit more rhythmic, enjoyable music. Well, enjoyable for me. So that's it. I stick to fairly popular classical music.
Fantastic. And Jonathan, a question for you: how do you play by ear so well? Because when you've been doing our workshops, you've been going, well, you could do a little bit of this and you could do a little bit of that. And how do you learn to be able to do that?
It's like any other musical skill, really. You have to do it every day and just get used to swimming in that. And you can't do it unless you're in the water, really. So I have done things like specific ear training, and people will know there are great sort of apps out there just to test your ear on intervals and things. But apart from that, I don't feel right about myself if I haven't had a quick improvise at least once or twice on the piano every day, just because it just feels nice. It feels nice to do that. I'm always trying to explore new sounds, really, and that tests your ear.
Great. Gabe wants to ask you, Julian, what was the first project that you worked on? How old were you when you wrote your first kind of film score or music for film?
You know, it's very hard to get a filmmaker to trust that job to you. So it was a long time before I managed to get a film to score. I think it was a student film when I was probably about 25 or no, 23, 24. Also, you have to know filmmakers, and there are not many of them around. Actually, it's a bit different now because people can make a film much more easily, you know, even on their phone. But when I was young, it was virtually impossible to make a film if you didn't go to a college or something like that, because you didn't have the kit. But yeah.
So do you write? So George has asked, do you write music on paper or on a computer, and how has that changed? What technology do you use to write and create the music?
I think, like nearly all composers, I use Logic, film composers. In this country, they use other software in other countries. But actually, I write scrawls. In fact, I've been doing it today. So I write scrawls. It helps me like that. So I'll just write a sort of melody, and then I'll just put the chord under it, something like that. And can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very rough notes, which helps me because it's just too complicated to go straight into the computer if you've got lots of instruments, and so I need a bit of paper help. But I'm a bit traditional because, you know, a lot of composers now can't even read music, and they do fine, you know, using the technology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Okay, and we've got some questions actually for you, Julian and Jim. Do you play? What instruments do you play? Or do you play an instrument, Jim?
I sadly, I mean, I used to be in the choir.
Oh, you're really breaking up, Jim.
I was 18. I was in a turquoise. Oh, yes, I was a choir boy for about 8 years. So I had a great love of singing and music, but we never really got past Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star on the guitar lessons. There were 12 of us in a room with half an hour to teach, And after 8 years, I gave up. So, but I love collecting sound, and sound is a real big thing. So I spend a lot of time with a sound recorder, recording animal noises, water, various things. And I'm not sure what I'm doing with them yet, but yes, I still love the sound of voices and things. So I've got a vast sound library of things that I haven't done anything with yet. And I like to collect instruments that I don't know how to play as well. So I'm obsessed with the Suzuki Omnichord at the moment, which is something I'm trying to get my hands on. Yeah, I think Brian Eno used them. So that's my latest obsession.
I haven't even heard of that. Have you heard of that, Jonathan?
No, never heard of that. I'm going to look that up.
It's a bit like like an old Yamaha keyboard synthesizer thing, but it's got little sound cards that go inside it, and yeah, so it's like an auto harp and a synthesizer all wrapped into one. It's amazing.
Sounds great.
What about you, Julian? What instruments do you play?
Well, it's keyboard instruments is my thing. When I was a kid, they all said to me, "You have to have a second instrument," and so I said, "Oh, right then." And then they said, "Well, we need some cellists in our school orchestra." So I said, "Oh, right." So I tried to learn the cello, and I just didn't take to it at all. I mean, there must be a lot of cellists watching this if they're, you know. I just did not take to it, and this is a terrible sign of a poor character on my part. But part of the reason was the case, the damn case, because it was you had. I don't know if these days people seem to have these hard cases, but in those days it was a soft case, and it was a real effort to get it off the cello and then on the cello, and it just wasted so much time, and I was too lazy, and it was one of the reasons why I didn't like the cello. But my apologies to all the cellists in there. I did actually try, I was about 20 or something, I tried to learn the classical guitar, tried to teach myself from videos and this sort of thing, and that was just, I think when you get too old, learning an instrument is, even at 20, is too old somehow. I think you need a young mind to.
Well, we've got a lot of young minds in NCO, so they're all in the right place. So we've got a poll to find out about your secret secret treat fetish. Once Julian gets starting eating these, he cannot stop. What are they? Salt and vinegar chipsticks. Oh, it's supposed to be wine gums, not wind gums, but maybe wind gums would be even better. Pringles, pickled onion monster munch, or cheesy Wotsits. Okay, and it's rushing up. And drum roll, Pringles are in the lead, followed closely by pickled onion monster munch. And I'm going to end it there, and we're going to find out what the answer is. They've gone for Pringles, Julian. What's the answer?
I have to say, I think that's a really easy question, because doesn't everybody know that once you start Pringles, you can't stop them? I mean, that's how I look at it. Yeah.
Do you ever buy those little ones though? Or they're just a bit of a waste of time, aren't they?
Well, then you get disappointed, don't you? Because you know that you could have had a big tin, so that's no good either. Yeah.
No, exactly. Right. Let me look for another question. Can Jonathan speak some languages for us? We've been
ja, gerne. Also ich kann ja so mit Deutsch vielleicht mal anfangen, und et puis je peux parler en français si vous voulez. Moi j'adore le français, e questo mattino ho fatto un corso in italiano. There we go, that's 3. Three Shala Kumrag. Here we go.
Excellent. And we've got a question for you again, Julian. How many films have you written music for? Do you know? Have you counted up?
God, I have no idea. And you know, also you have to define what a film is. Is it just a cinema film, or is it a TV movie? So I don't know. It's a lot. I don't know. It must be 40 or something. I don't know. Wow. I mean, an episode. I mean, once you start doing this, you know, if you need to make a living out of it, you have to work quite hard at it and keep going, and you know.
Yeah. I
mean, it's a full-time job, so.
Yeah.
I've got a question for Julian, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Which was, Julian, in the clip that we're doing from A Matter of Loaf and Death, you quote the bum 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 but the Mission Impossible thing, which I is so memorable, isn't it? And that's obviously very deliberate. Were you told to quote other famous film tunes? Is that part of the vision for the score from the directors?
Okay, so those of you who are going to become film music composers will face the same problem that every other film music composer faces, which is, the temp tracks I was talking about before. So what happens is the filmmakers, they put on a piece of music on the temporary edit. But the trouble is they all get so used to that music that they really want it, and everything else sounds wrong, because that was the first piece of music they heard with the sequence. So every film composer, you go to any seminar like this, they'll say the same thing. It's the blight of their work existence. So the real Mission Impossible tune was put as a temp music for that moment. So the producers and Nick Park, really what they wanted was to continue with that, but they couldn't have it. So I had to do something that was as close to that as possible without it being that. So that's why it sounds a bit like Mission Impossible, because basically that's what they wanted.
Right. I thought that might have been the case. It's brilliant. It definitely has an echo of Mission Impossible, but is noticeably different as well.
Yeah, I've heard that producers or creators often say that. I want this music, but it can't be that music, kind of thing. Write something that sounds just like that, but obviously isn't that.
Yeah.
Great. We've got another poll now about, we're going to find out a secret about Jonathan. Jonathan would like his superpower to be singing in any style or any range, dancing in any style and winning strictly, or playing all instruments brilliantly. Okay, so we're going to find out what the answer to that one is. It can be.
Yes, that's made me rethink this. Can I do all three? Is that possible?
Yeah, you can change your mind, obviously.
Oh dear.
If all the answers fit. But yeah, so I'm going to stop that now. End the poll. Thank you for voting. And the results are playing all instruments brilliantly, 58% think, 27% dancing in any style and winning strictly, and 14% singing in any style and any range. So what's the answer?
Well, it's actually singing in any style, because my voice, as you can probably tell from my speaking voice, it's not great. And I've always, the grass is always greener, isn't it? So I've always wanted to be able to just sing in any style.
Oh, brilliant. So what about advice when you were growing up? Our kids are all growing up, thinking about being musicians or thinking about what they might want to do with their lives. Jim, what was did you have any good advice you were given or bad advice you were given in your life?
I think, they're quite heavily interlinked, really. I was, as a child, I was most commonly nicknamed Calamity James. So if you could fall off something, into something, onto something, or through something, that would pretty much be me, really. Miraculously, I never broke a bone. I broke my nose 3 times by the time I was 10, but never broke a bone. So the first piece of advice was don't get into gymnastics, was probably the best piece. And I would say the worst was definitely, I think you could probably run across that really slippery sewage pipe that actually falls into a stream of sewage. And I think that was probably the worst piece of advice that I ever did take. I allowed myself to dream about gymnastics for a moment, and I had to sit with my feet in plastic bags at the back of a minibus from a very long journey back from Rill Sun Centre in North Wales to Warwick. And I was very unpopular and lonely.
And quite smelly, probably.
And very smelly, yes.
What about you, Julian? Was there any bad advice or good advice you had through when you were growing up?
Well, if you want to be a film music composer, it's quite a risk. It's very hard to have any success in that, because there's so many people who want to do it and so few opportunities. So I think I was always told, get a sensible job, get your A-levels, which isn't a bad idea. Go to good university, I had a great time at a good university. But I think my bad advice I was given was don't be ambitious. when it comes to work. And yeah, I don't want to sound like an Instagram influencer, you know, or on a cat Instagram influencer. So, you know, you've got to live your dreams or something. But it is a bit like that.
Yeah. Excellent. What about you, Jonathan? Any good advice or not so helpful advice?
I think there was a definite moment in my life, just following on from my superhuman power, where I was told, you might as well give up the singing, just to focus on the violin and other things that I was doing at the time. And I wish I hadn't followed that advice. So I'd flip that and say, actually, every musician needs to be confident in that. Well, it really helps to be confident in your voice, and it just releases so many things that we don't realise. So keep singing, I think, is definitely up there.
I was told to give up ballet, but I think that was probably quite a good call on my
Really?
bit like you in gymnastics, Jim. I don't think I was ever going to be a ballerina. Right, we're going to share a little bit now of what you've all been up to over the week, because we've been up to all sorts of exciting things. So what have we been up to? The hoodies are here. Really exciting news for NCO Online. We've all, hopefully, if they haven't arrived yet, they've all been dispatched. So your hoodies are here, which is brilliant. We've been doing some sectionals. So there's our under 13s and main orchestra percussionists doing one of their sectionals with Ian. And the senior violins doing, I think that's a solo from Scheherazade, in an amazing sectional there with Emily Davis. And these are our senior flutes. I think this must have been bring something important to yourself or something to the sectional. So they've all sharing some unusual things. And this is fun. This is our senior cellos learning a bit of choreography. Let's have a look at this.
1, 12. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, we love a bit of choreography. Brilliant. And this is the webinar from a couple of weeks ago with Mark and Wynne Evans. And we're going to be doing the selfie again in a minute with these guys. So if you want to bring anything to get ready for your selfie, now's the time to do it. And here are some selfies that you all sent in last time for that webinar. That was a lot of fun. It's all up on YouTube, actually, if you want to catch up with it if you missed it. So there are lots of kids out there enjoying it like they were for this one. And we had a quiz last week. And it was an animal themed quiz, and they had to dress up. And look at that upside down bat. Isn't that ingenious? And all sorts of different dressing up going on for the animal themed quiz and music. Fantastic. Lots of lovely onesies and even an octopus, which is amazing. And yesterday there was an amazing well-being session on body scanning. So if anybody wants to catch up on that, it's on the website into the wellbeing icon with Tom Taffender, and here is Joshua who with Tom and I participating in that. It's a really body scanning is a really great way to kind of calm yourself down after you've played, after you've done a performance, or before you've done a performance, to get yourself really centered and really focused. It was a brilliant session. And of course the musical postcards are coming in, and the bassoons are cleaning up in the musical postcard department. So have a little listen to this. That was amazing. And now look at this little gem as well. So there we are. Keep those coming in. There's absolutely loads of arrangements there on the website for you to play with a cappella. So much fun to be had. So that's what we've been up to this week. And there's a lot more coming up next week, actually. So talking about the Wallace and Gromit soundtracks, which we're talking about today, the deadline for those is the 7th of May. And the adjudication and sharing of them is on the 13th of May. So we've already had some in, and we're very excited to hear them. So if you want to send them in, please add them to the Dropbox link, which is in the instructions. And this is everything that's happening this week. So on Sunday, you've got your orchestral workshops, and the NYO National Youth Orchestra mentorship sessions are going on. On Sunday evening, if anybody's having any trouble recording their on the move soundtracks and want to come along and get some help with the recording process, we've got a little session at 5:30 on Sunday. On Wednesday, we've got the deadline for the Taskmaster Challenge, which is to create a special effect without using computers. The deadline for that is on Wednesday. Jonathan is doing an amazing improvisation session with us. Tell us what that's going to be about, Jonathan.
It's going to be on a very funky tune, Soul Bossa Nova. You might know it from the Austin Powers movies.
Cool. So we're going to create a Soul Bossa Nova with Jonathan on Thursday. So that's going to be very funky and fun. And the final Taskmaster Challenge judging is on Friday, this time next week. Okay, so let's get out of that, and we're going to get ready in a minute for our selfies. But let's see if there's any final questions for our guests. Maya's asked, does Jim have a guide of what a model is meant to look like, except for the type of animal like dog? Not quite sure what that means. You have got lots of videos on your website, haven't you, Jim, of how to make things? And
yeah, absolutely. We get a very strong brief. So if it's Grommet, we get a good series of drawings from Nick, and Nick is a wonderful artist. So I have achieved my Grommet in the time. So it can be very free, and freeform jazz in plasticine terms, really.
Can we? You keep breaking up, Jim. I'm afraid. Would you be able to hold your Grommet up to the camera now? You've made him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Can we really see him up close?
Sure. There we go. Funny and thummy is our catchphrase. It's a very Nick Park thing to say. So there we go.
Funny and funny.
Thummy.
That's it.
Thummy and thummy. Yeah. I see. Amazing. I think that deserves a massive round of applause for having been able to do that in that time. Fantastic. Great. Are there any final questions that anyone want to ask these guys? How long did it take you to write the longest piece of music you've ever written, Julian?
4 hours.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
I don't get long to write music because it's film music. They don't give me any time. I wish they did. So if they gave me some time, I'd say 20 hours, but they don't give me that, as it were. So it's all a big rush. If you know what happens is sometimes you have to write a long bit of music, like, you know, some of these, if you have a Hollywood film, or, a popular film like that, it can be all chases and explosions for the last 15 or 20 minutes of the film, all of which needs music. So if you have to do that and you don't have time, you have to write lazy music. You have to write music that doesn't have a lot of notes. It's notes that take the time, which, there are various sort of techniques for doing that to get momentum and jeopardy and excitement without a lot of notes. That's a very complicated, it's quite a complicated matter, that. But
yeah.
Wow,
Fantastic.
Yeah. A lot of notes on the page takes a lot of time.
So we've got our very final poll, which is about Jim. Jim loves round snacks. What are his favourites? Cheesy footballs, Baby Bells, oranges, a scoop of mint chocolate chip ice cream, or Ferrero Rocher? So, oh, hang on, is the, let's see what they're saying. At the moment, Ferrero Rochers are in the lead, followed by mint chocolate chip ice cream. So I'm going to end the poll, and we're going to find out what your favourite is. Here, people think it's Ferrero Rocher, Jim. Is that right?
It's a close run thing again. The world record for eating Ferrero Rocher in 1 minute was only 6 about 2 years ago, and I nearly beat that on my first go. But actually, it's cheesy footballs for the win.
Did you say you can eat 6 Ferrero Rocher in a minute? Did I hear that right?
Yeah. To completion, you have to swallow them. Yes, and they have to be wrapped when you start.
Oh my goodness. I don't think you should be encouraging people to do that. That sounds very dangerous. It's a little bit like eating that cream cracker thing. Have you ever done that when you have to eat how many?
Yeah.
Is it like 3 cream crackers without having a drink, and you basically can't do it, can you? I don't know. Perhaps we should try it on one of our webinars to see if it's possible. Great, fantastic. Well, I think we've reached the end of our time, so we need to get ready for the selfie. So obviously, I've got my hat, my special hat, which is, oh, Jonathan's got bananas. This is my what's she called? The lady on the bicycle.
Oh, Paella.
Paella's hat. Okay. Have you got something silly, Julian, you could do?
No, I haven't anything silly. I failed to bring anything silly with me.
Something silly, maybe.
I'll do something silly. I'll do what
yeah.
does Wallace do? Does it? Ooh,
yeah, perfect. Okay, I'll count us down. Okay. We'll go 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Hopefully we'll get some fun selfies from that. And there's our amazing Grommet. We're going to have to come and see you in Bristol because our NCO offices are now in Bristol. So we're going to have to come and take custody of that Grommet, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, come and see.
We'll come and see what you do, and hopefully we can work in this way again with Aardman. It's been such an incredible pleasure to have you both, Julian and Jim, and of course Jonathan, with us today. So just thank you so much, and we're looking forward to seeing the results of the soundtracks, and we'll send you over the winners so you can have a little look at what the kids have got up to. So thank you all so much, and just say goodbye and good luck, and we hope to see you again very soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.